Life has a way of testing us when we least expect it. In times of danger, we often look to family, friends, or strangers for help, but sometimes the bravest savior comes from a four-legged companion who cannot speak our language, yet understands us better than anyone else. Dogs have lived beside humans for thousands of years, not merely as pets, but as protectors and guardians. Their loyalty is unquestionable, and their courage often leaves us speechless. In this first part of our series, we will explore the stories of ordinary dogs who became extraordinary heroes when their owners' lives were hanging by a thread. These tales are not fiction, they are powerful reminders of the unbreakable bond between humans and dogs. It was just after midnight when Sarah and her two children fell asleep in their small suburban home. The house was quiet, the kind of silence that usually brings comfort after a long day. But not far from the kitchen, an electrical wire had begun to spark, hidden behind the walls where no one could see. Within minutes, smoke began to spread slowly through the house. The family remained unaware, except for Max, their black Labrador. At first, Max sniffed the air, his instincts warning him of danger. He tried to nudge Sarah awake, whining at her bedside, but she turned over in her sleep. As the smoke thickened, Max's whining turned into urgent barking. He barked louder and louder, refusing to stop, until Sarah finally opened her eyes, confused and startled. Through the haze, she smelled smoke and realized something was terribly wrong. Sarah grabbed her children and tried to rush outside, but the living room was already filling with flames. The front door was blocked, and panic surged through her chest. Just as she was about to lose hope, Max ran ahead, leading her toward the back door. With every ounce of strength, she followed the dog's lead, clutching her children's hands tightly. They barely made it out into the cold night air before the fire consumed the living room behind them. The fire department later confirmed that if Max hadn't woken Sarah, the family might not have survived. Neighbors gathered to see the aftermath, and amid the chaos, Sarah hugged Max tightly, tears streaming down her face. He had not only saved her life, but also protected her children, the most precious gift any parent could receive. That night, Max was no longer just a family pet. He became a hero. In the snow-covered mountains of Colorado, Jake loved to hike with his Siberian husky, Luna. The two were inseparable companions, often disappearing into the wilderness for hours at a time. One winter afternoon, as the sun dipped behind the peaks, Jake slipped on an icy path and tumbled down into a ravine. His leg twisted badly, pain shooting up through his body. He realized quickly that he was trapped, and worse, his phone had no signal. Cold winds began to bite at his skin as darkness settled in. Hypothermia was no longer a distant threat. It was closing in with every minute. Luna, sensing Jake's distress, lay across his body to keep him warm. The husky's thick fur shielded him from the freezing air, and her steady presence gave him strength. But Luna's instincts told her she had to do more. After hours of keeping Jake alive, Luna suddenly darted up the slope, disappearing into the snowy night. Jake feared she had abandoned him, but minutes later, the sound of distant voices echoed through the canyon. Luna had reached the trail where a group of hikers were passing by. She barked, circled them, and tugged at their jackets until they followed her. Guiding them through the snow, she led them straight to Jake. Rescue workers later said that Luna's actions likely prevented Jake from freezing to death. To him, it was clear his husky had not only been his hiking partner, but his savior. The bond between them deepened after that day. Every time Jake looked into Luna's icy blue eyes, he remembered the night she became his lifeline. For years, Robert had lived alone in his small countryside home with Rex, his German shepherd. Rex was known for being disciplined and watchful, always alert to any unusual sound. One stormy night, Robert was asleep when the sound of breaking glass jolted him awake. Heart pounding, he realized someone had broken into his home. Before Robert could even react, Rex was already on his feet, growling low in his throat. The intruder crept through the hallway, flashlight in hand, unaware of the danger waiting for him. As soon as he entered the living room, Rex lunged, placing himself between Robert and the stranger. The intruder, startled, swung a crowbar at the dog, but Rex didn't back down. A fierce struggle followed. Rex bit and barked, forcing the man to retreat. The noise alerted neighbors, who quickly called the police. By the time officers arrived, the intruder was pinned down by Rex's presence, trembling in fear. Robert hugged his dog with tears of gratitude. The police later admitted that if Rex hadn't acted, Robert might have been seriously injured, or worse. That night, Rex proved the German Shepherd reputation right: loyal, fearless, and protective to the very end. On a bright summer afternoon, Emily took her 6-year-old son to a nearby park, where a river flowed gently past the playground. It was supposed to be a carefree day, filled with laughter and games. But in the blink of an eye, everything changed. Her son, fascinated by the water, wandered too close to the riverbank. One slip, and he fell into the rushing current. Panic seized Emily as she screamed his name, but before she could even move, their golden retriever, Daisy, leapt into the river without hesitation. The current was strong, pulling the small child downstream. Daisy swam furiously, her fur drenched and her muscles straining against the water. Reaching the boy, she grabbed onto his shirt and paddled with all her strength toward the shore. Emily waded in as far as she could, stretching out her hands, until finally Daisy pushed the boy close enough for his mother to pull him out. Exhausted, Daisy struggled against the current, but managed to climb out herself, collapsing onto the grass. Emily clutched her son tightly, sobbing, while Daisy lay beside them, tail wagging weakly, as if to say, "It's okay, he's safe now." Later, Emily would often tell friends and family that Daisy had given her the greatest gift any mother could ask for, the life of her child. Daisy became more than a pet. She became a guardian angel with golden fur. Each of these stories proves that dogs are not just animals living in our homes, they are protectors, companions, and heroes willing to face fire, ice, violence, and raging waters for us. Their bravery is instinctive, born from love and loyalty that words can never fully describe. Max the Labrador saved his family from fire. Luna the Husky fought snow and cold to bring rescuers. Rex the German Shepherd stood against a criminal with courage. Daisy the Golden Retriever risked the river's fury to save a child. These are not just tales of survival, they are lessons in love. Dogs don't think twice when it comes to protecting their humans. They act because their hearts are bound to ours in a way that science can't explain. But every dog lover deeply understands. When we think of heroes, we often picture firefighters rushing into burning buildings, or doctors saving lives in an emergency room. But sometimes, the bravest hero walks on 4 legs, wearing no uniform, carrying no tools, armed only with instinct and loyalty. Dogs continue to amaze us with their selflessness, proving again and again that love can inspire courage greater than fear. In this second part of our journey, we share more extraordinary stories of dogs who stood between danger and their humans, risking everything to save the lives they cherished. These are tales of devotion, courage, and sacrifice, stories that remind us why dogs are more than companions, they are family. On a warm summer evening in rural Texas, a little girl named Anna played in her backyard. She laughed as her beagle, Buddy, chased butterflies and wagged his tail with endless energy. Suddenly, from the tall grass near the fence, a rattlesnake slithered silently closer to the child. Its body coiled, ready to strike. Buddy saw it before Anna did. Without a moment's hesitation, the small beagle darted between the snake and the little girl, barking furiously. The snake struck, but instead of hitting Anna, its fangs sank into Buddy's side. Anna screamed as her parents rushed outside, horrified at the sight. The father quickly killed the snake, while the mother scooped Buddy into her arms. They raced to the vet, praying the dog would survive. Hours later, after antivenom and intensive care, Buddy opened his eyes weakly and wagged his tail. He had taken the venom meant for the child and lived to see her smile again. For Anna, Buddy was no longer just her playful beagle. He was her guardian, the hero who had saved her life. Late one rainy night, David drove home from work on a quiet country road. His faithful border collie Scout sat in the passenger seat. Suddenly, a deer darted across the road. David swerved to avoid it, and the car spun out of control, crashing into a ditch. The impact knocked David unconscious. Hours passed in the cold night as rain poured down, flooding the ditch. Scout whimpered and nudged his owner, but David didn't move. Realizing help would not come, Scout crawled out of the broken window and ran through the darkness. Nearly a mile away, Scout reached a small farmhouse. He barked, scratched at the door, and howled until the family inside awoke. At first, they thought he was just a stray, but Scout refused to leave. He kept running a few steps away, then looking back, barking frantically. The farmer grabbed a flashlight and followed him. Scout led them straight to the wreck. David was pulled from the car, just as the ditch water was rising dangerously high. Paramedics later said he would not have survived the night without his dog's desperate search for help. Scout's intelligence and determination turned what could have been a tragedy into a miracle. In the forests of Alaska, Laura loved hiking with her mixed-breed dog, Rocky. One sunny afternoon, they wandered deeper into the trails when suddenly, a massive grizzly bear appeared. Its roar echoed through the trees, freezing Laura in terror. Before the bear could charge, Rocky sprang into action. Though much smaller, he barked, snarled, and circled the bear. Drawing its attention away from Laura, the bear swiped at him. But Rocky darted aside, keeping just enough distance to avoid the fatal claws. He continued to bark, his courage unwavering. Laura seized the moment to slowly back away, her heart racing. When she was far enough, she called Rocky, her voice trembling. Amazingly, Rocky broke away and sprinted to her, and together they escaped into the forest. Wildlife experts later said Rocky's actions were nothing short of incredible. He had risked certain death to distract a predator far stronger than himself. Laura would forever remember the way her dog stood like a warrior between her and danger. Michael had lived with epilepsy since childhood, but despite medication, seizures sometimes struck without warning. His white poodle, Bella, seemed to sense them before they happened. She would paw at him, bark strangely, or refuse to leave his side. One morning, Michael prepared to drive to work. As he grabbed his keys, Bella blocked the door, barking and whining hysterically. Michael grew frustrated, but just as he reached for the handle, a sudden wave of dizziness hit him. Moments later, he collapsed onto the floor in a violent seizure. Bella immediately sprang into action. She barked loudly, alerting neighbors in the apartment building. One rushed in to find Michael unconscious. Emergency services were called, and he received the care he needed in time. Doctors later explained that had Michael suffered the seizure while driving, it could have been fatal not only for him, but for others on the road. Bella's intuition had saved multiple lives that day. To Michael, she was more than a pet. She was a guardian angel with fur. These stories continue to reveal the depth of a dog's devotion. Buddy, the beagle, took the venom of a rattlesnake to protect a child. Scout, the border collie, braved the night to bring rescuers. Rocky, the mixed breed, stood against a grizzly bear without hesitation. Bella, the poodle, used her intuition to save her owner from disaster. Each act of bravery was different, but the heart behind it was the same: unconditional love. Dogs do not measure risk. They act out of loyalty. In their eyes, our safety is worth any price. As we move into part 3, we will uncover even more tales of heroism stories that will remind us, once again, that sometimes the greatest heroes don't wear capes. They wear collars. Cinematic painting of dogs glowing like heroes, standing in misty light, symbol of loyalty and courage. Small beagle barking fiercely at a coiled rattlesnake near a little girl in a backyard. Dramatic. Beagle lying weak but alive in a vet clinic. Child hugging him with tears. Broken car in ditch at night. Border collie climbing out of shattered window. Rain pouring. Border collie barking at farmhouse door under stormy night sky. Cinematic. Farmer with flashlight following border collie to car crash scene. Small mixed breed dog barking bravely at a towering grizzly bear in forest trail. Cinematic. Woman hiker escaping into forest while dog distracts bear. White poodle blocking apartment door, barking frantically at owner about to leave. Poodle barking loudly beside man collapsed on floor, neighbors rushing in. Emotional scene. By now, we have seen dogs brave fire, snow, water, and wild animals to protect their humans. Yet there are still countless stories left untold, moments when a wagging tail became a shield, and a loyal companion turned into a savior. In this final part of our journey, we explore even more extraordinary tales of courage. These dogs did not just save lives. They left behind legacies of loyalty that will be remembered forever. In a small European town, an elderly woman named Maria lived alone with her dachshund, Milo. One winter morning, she woke with a headache, unaware that a gas leak had silently filled her home. The invisible danger crept through the rooms like a hidden killer. Milo sensed something was wrong. He barked relentlessly, pawed at Maria's bed, and even bit her blanket to pull her awake. At first, Maria scolded him for being noisy, but Milo refused to stop. Finally, dizzy and weak, she noticed the hissing sound in the kitchen. Realizing the danger, she stumbled outside with Milo, just as a neighbor called emergency services. The fire department later confirmed that, if Milo hadn't acted, Maria might never have woken up. The little dachshund, small in size but mighty in courage, had saved his human from an invisible threat. On a quiet street in India, a young boy walked home from school with his Doberman, Shadow, by his side. Suddenly, a van screeched to a halt, and two masked men jumped out, attempting to drag the boy inside. Before the child could cry out, Shadow launched himself at the attackers, snarling with a ferocity they had never seen. He bit one man's arm, forcing him to release the boy, then chased the other as neighbors rushed out after hearing the commotion. Startled and injured, the kidnappers fled, leaving the boy trembling but unharmed. The news spread quickly, and Shadow became a local legend. People said no guard, no police, could have acted faster than that dog. The Doberman's loyalty had protected the child from unthinkable harm. In the hills of Scotland, a shepherd named Angus tended his flock during a sudden summer storm. His loyal sheepdog, Finn, stayed close as thunder rolled across the sky. Then, without warning, a bolt of lightning struck near Angus. The blast knocked him unconscious and set the grass ablaze. Finn panicked, but didn't run. Barking furiously, he dragged at Angus's coat, pulling him away from the burning patch of ground. Neighbors, alerted by the commotion, rushed to help and carried Angus to safety. Sadly, Finn collapsed moments later, his body weakened from the lightning's impact. Angus survived, but Finn never woke again. The shepherd wept as he buried his companion on the hill, telling everyone who would listen, "He gave his life so I could keep mine." Finn's story became one of sacrifice, the ultimate proof of a dog's love. In the deserts of Arizona, a lost hiker named Claire collapsed from dehydration under the blazing sun. She had no water left, and her lips cracked as her strength faded. As she drifted in and out of consciousness, a shadow approached a stray dog, ribs visible, eyes cautious but kind. The stray licked her face, nudging her awake, then began to walk slowly ahead, stopping often to look back. With the last of her strength, Claire followed. Hours passed until the dog led her to a remote highway, where a passing driver spotted her and called for help. When Claire awoke in the hospital, she asked about the dog, but no one had seen him since. To this day, she believes that Stray was no ordinary animal, but a guardian spirit in the shape of a dog, sent to guide her to safety. Milo, the dachshund, who fought an invisible gas leak. Shadow, the Doberman, who defended a child from kidnappers. Finn, the sheepdog, who gave his life under lightning's fury. And an unnamed stray who became a desert angel. So when you look into your dog's eyes, remember, you are looking into the heart of a protector, a guardian, and perhaps, one day, a hero. Because sometimes, the greatest heroes don't stand tall on 2 feet. They walk quietly beside us on 4 paws.